Hello! This might seem a little weird, but I have a lot of laundry to fold, so I'm going to fold it while I listen to the Magnus Archives. You shouldn't be surprised by now, this is just what I do. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah. I've also, you probably saw I made some shorts because the end of 107 was insane, but I got to the end of 108, which is this one that's showing on screen right now, Monologue. I was at the last 5 minutes, and then suddenly I hear Martin's given his post statement, and suddenly I hear like a dying rat screech. That's very, and I'm like, wow, dying rat screech. That means George. I don't know, George something. Lucas just showed up. Like one of the lonely people just popped in, and I'm like, this is supposed to be a not even bronze episode. I am not recording this right now. So he just started talking, and I hit pause, and I was like, I guess. I'm like, I don't want to record a short again. That's like gonna be 5 minutes long, because that doesn't work. I'll be like, what if I'll watch the end of it on the next stream, when I watch the Montauk statement. So here I am, and with this happening so many times, like literally every episode that's not on my list, I've come to the resolution that from now on, for the rest of the series, I'll watch every episode on camera. So yeah, I'm screwed. I can't even watch anything on my own anymore because too many important things are happening, because we're at the end of the season and we're at the end of the series and everything's too plot based. But yeah. Congratulations. But yeah. Okay. You get everything now. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm about to watch this right now. I'll watch it. Where was I? I was about like 5 minutes from the end. Maybe not that far.
I assume.
Well, you just...
Here to ear. Please, Martin, I'm not going to hurt you. I just thought we might have a chat.
About Melanie, I need to.
Let's just start here.
From what I've been told.
Okay, stay back.
What?
Please, Martin, I'm not going to hurt you. I just thought we might have
Am
a
I
chat.
crazy?
Alone.
Or dancing, or skin.
Let's start from here.
Or skin. I wanted to ask Tim about it, but he hasn't been around much the last week or so. Says he's working on something, which is...
Can I see myself?
I mean, it could be fine, I guess. He's just quite intense at the moment. He scares me sometimes.
By the way, for some reason, Nightfall isn't on my list, and I don't
None of us are doing great.
know why. And I'm like, I'm gonna watch that one. It says Julia Montauk in the description.
Something's happened, I think. Her work's been kind of off lately, and anytime I talk
I
to
wonder
her, she
why.
just finds some reason to leave. I asked her to look into what happened to Adonis Biros, the actor from the
Oh, I forgot to go back and look if John's mentioned something about Melanie being busy or something.
He's an American.
Because Martin says that he lied to him
I had to make
and said that
for her.
he made an excuse for her.
He doesn't need that kind of thing on his mind right now.
I love seeing both sides of like what's going on. Everyone struggling intensely.
You know, saying it out loud, I'm actually really worried about Melanie. You know what? Sarah knows better than I do. I've been too awkward to ask, but
It's okay, King.
I need to. I really think I need to.
Sarah?
Hi! Hi, Dee. Why do you stop in all the time? It's terrifying. Yeah. Feel free to watch later.
Martin, isn't it?
Shh, don't move. Don't you come any closer, okay?
Okay.
I've got a knife.
That would seem
I've got a knife!
character from
It's so real.
Okay?
I'm not lying.
Stay back.
Please, Martin, I'm not going to hurt you. I just thought we might have a chat. Alone.
Oh,
Alone.
one of them, aren't you?
Funny. Haha. Haha.
Lucas.
Yes, that's
Dang, you right away.
pleased to meet you.
All he said was alone. How did you know?
I was just reading. John left some notes and...
Oh.
I see. I'm sorry to have disturbed you.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. You can watch as long as you'd like.
What?
Did he suggest you record a statement today? One that mentioned me?
Yeah? Sort of. I mean, not you specifically, but...
I'd
Lucas.
have a meeting with him today. He suggested.
So,
I'm sure he's watching from his office, grinning from ear to ear.
thanks, Elias,
I
for being a
almost
creep.
thought He genuinely wanted me to meet the team. Oh well.
I'm really sorry. I don't actually...
Do I
Team.
scare you, Martin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably for the best. And what's Elias like to work for, aside from orchestrating unsettling encounters?
That's a lot of it, to be honest.
That's
Real.
not something you look for in an employer, I assume.
Well, you just said he's watching us.
Almost certainly. How is he as a boss?
Fine, I guess. Not so much with the manipulation and
The murder.
sometimes the murder.
Oh,
You said it.
that doesn't sound like the Elias I know. He killed people himself.
I mean,
Oh.
I wasn't
That was
there.
crazy.
That's what he said, and I didn't see the bodies.
Elias Bouchard getting his hands dirty.
Usually he just watches.
The end times.
Don't
It is the end times,
So
actually.
your advice would be less...
One of them.
I suppose?
No, it's a good observation. I thank you for it.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm sure I've disturbed you quite enough for one day. Martin, I have a meeting to get to, and a few things to tell Elias to his face about wasting both our time. Be seeing you, as it were.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's going on here? What
Bye.
tensions are... And there's a close relationship between the Institute and
What?
these Lukases. But is there some
Yeah.
strange planning or drama
anyone?
going on?
Where?
Out there. Just now?
No.
No?
No.
That figures.
So did you need anything, or...
Does the name Peter Lukas mean anything to you?
Oh, yes, actually. I've been reading a bunch of old statements. He's that creepy old boat captain, right? From the family Elias
yeah.
doesn't want us bothering.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that warning doesn't go both ways.
He was here.
Yeah, I think so.
Was he... Woo!
I mean, a bit. Yeah.
Does he so spooky, man?
Maybe, I don't know. Honestly, he was just a bit weird.
Yeah. Is that why you wanted me?
Oh no, are you busy?
A bit. I was reading through a bunch of stuff about the Church of the Divine Host. Did you look into that statement about the chapel in Hither Green?
Darkness,
Because apparently
bitches.
right around that time, there's a full solar eclipse going on in, guess where?
I don't know.
What the Allison?
And when that event started being 300 years ago, well, how much do you know about the relationship between Edmund Halley and John Flamsteed?
Huh?
You like the comet?
Exactly.
Look, Sarah, that's really interesting, but that's not why
Basira's reading actually
you're close to Melanie.
has
Right.
gigantic plot relevance. She figured out the entire plot, probably.
Is she doing okay?
I need to, oh shit, I need to look into all the darkness stuff again. I need to
No.
listen to the Montauk statements again. I'm so slacking.
She's always been quite, conscientious, but then recently,
Okay,
everything's...
look, I don't know what the situation is. She won't tell me. But she's not doing well. We were meant to go for a drink last week, but I think it has something to do with Elias.
Elias. Oh, God.
Real.
Well, maybe we can... What? Oh, right.
Oh, tape recorder. I want to know. Okay. So that guy showed up. Should I listen to that entire conversation again? That's kind of what I want to do. Let me listen to the entire conversation again.
In less than 4 hours, I will be
No.
on that stage again.
Too much monologue.
I asked her to look into what happened to Adonis Biros, the actor from the statement, and she hasn't bothered as far
Yeah,
as
we never found out what happened to this actor
Okay,
guy.
Okay, stay back.
Please, Martin, I'm not going to hurt you. I just thought we might have a chat.
Sorry.
Oh. You're one of them, aren't you? A Lukas.
Yes, that's Peter. Pleased to meet you. Now, how did you know that?
I was just reading. John left some notes and...
I see. I'm sorry to have disturbed you. It's one of Elias's little jokes.
Huh?
What?
What's
Did
one
he
of...
suggest you record a statement today? One that mentioned me?
Yeah?
So this was
You know, not you
a
specifically,
lonely
I
statement.
had a meeting with him today. He suggested. I'm sure he's watching from his office, grinning from ear to ear.
Don't...
One that
I almost
involved
thought he
him.
genuinely wanted me to meet the team.
This,
I'm really
the actor
sorry,
statement.
I don't...
Even though it seemed very stranger-esque.
Yeah.
Probably for the best. And what's Elias like to work for, aside from orchestrating unsettling encounters?
That's a lot of it, to be honest.
And that's not something you look for in an employer, I assume.
Well, I mean, you've just said he's watching us.
Almost certainly. How is he as a boss?
Fine, I guess. I mean, not so much with the manipulation and sometimes the murder.
Oh. That doesn't sound like the Elias I know.
Why did he get so angry about Lightner? He even admitted that it was
What he said,
it was
and I did see the
it was an overreaction on his part.
Elias
So
was
why
sure
was he
of
so
getting his hands dirty.
angry?
Must be the end times.
How did he?
uh,
What drove him to overreact like that?
I suppose?
No, it's a good observation. I thank you for it.
What did he say?
Welcome.
But getting his hands dirty. Oh well, must be the end times.
Don't...
So your advice would be less murder?
Suppose?
Good.
No, it's a
Good
good
feedback.
observation. I thank you for it.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm sure I've disturbed you quite enough for one day. Martin, I have a meeting to get to and a few things to tell Elias to his face about wasting both our time. Be seeing you.
It's just that's so
As well.
passive aggressive. Like, what's going on here?
Bye.
Okay. I'm like, these lonely people are so socially inept. Who knew? Who would have thought? Okay, I listened to what Basira was saying about all the reading that she's been doing and how she's been connecting these dots.
Need anything or...
Does the name Peter Lukas mean anything to you?
Oh, yes, actually. I've been reading a bunch of old statements. He's that creepy old boat captain, right? From the family Elias doesn't want us bothering.
Yeah, I know
Well,
this.
apparently, and that warning doesn't go both ways.
He was here.
Yeah, I think so.
Was he... Woo!
I mean, a bit, yeah.
Oh. Oh dear.
Oof, sorry.
Maybe, I don't know. Honestly, he was just a bit weird.
Yeah. Is that why you wanted me?
Oh, no, are you busy?
A bit. I was reading through a bunch of stuff about the Church of the Divine Host. Did you look into that statement about the chapel in Hither Green? Because apparently right around that time there was a full solar eclipse going on
Okay,
in...
chapel in Hither Green. Shit. It's wiki time. Chapel. I know the church. No, that guy wasn't. That guy was a stranger guy. Okay, it's very strange to me that this was a lonely statement. You didn't, for context, the rest of it is that this actor, but he was very withdrawn. He didn't like being around other people. He didn't like connecting with his fellow actors. He liked. It's a monologue. He didn't like dialogue. He liked his calling was being alone on stage. He liked being the center. He liked just him in his performance by himself. That's what he was so. Dang, a lot of it. Shit. Gosh darn it! I'm so bad at detecting this stuff, and there was so many hints. There was so many hints. It was like there was all of his thing was isolation. It was like all of it was him isolating himself and preferring to be alone. I'm insane. But like the thing with the fake person, where it's like he looked at like this figure and it was like that person was not a person. There was no personhood behind that person. It came across as very strangery in the fact that it's like mannequins or like fake people, or like, and it also reminded me of that religious man who had, I think, a 2-part statement where it's like. it was definitely stranger because I believe something about skin happened. He did something related to skin, and that's why he's in prison. But like, it was in the sense that there wasn't like some crazy mannequin circus stuff going on. It was the stranger in the sense that something that was familiar to him was distorted, or not distorted. I can't say the distortion. No, something familiar to him turned foreign to him, and that for him, I believe, was his religion, his faith, his ability to practice his faith. You know. I guess. But in this one it was like, so there's these like stick people following you around, and you know, when you're performing, all you can see is this strange person in the audience that isn't a person, that isn't human at all, you know, like, and that's very strangery to me. But I guess it was like thematically because these entities very often affect people who have a connection to them or have a great, it's usually ironic, but sometimes it is like, I have a giant fear of this, so this fear is attacking me. But sometimes it's like, I like being alone, so I will be attacked by my own isolation. It adds like an ironic twist to the fact that I like being alone. So it's a very interesting. So this one, there was the fact that he was isolating himself, and then he was like attacked by loneliness, I guess. And these beings that weren't people, it's like, I believe, like being surrounded by people who aren't people at all. I guess that's the difference between like the stranger and this, is like these beings weren't even alive. They were sticks, like they were empty vessels that were a facsimile of a person. So it was like being meant to be surrounded by people, but in reality being surrounded by nobody. Just a mocking like statement that you are surrounded by nobody. And I guess I see that now, how it was like sort of lonely, taunting. I don't know if have we heard The Lonely? Because I know these stupid YouTube playlists, like I can never keep track of the names I've actually heard and the names that have been spoiled for me through frickin' the Rusty Quill YouTube channel or something. But yeah, really? Oh my god, I can't keep track of whose shirt are whose. This one was weird. I don't know who it belongs to. Maybe Mommy? Okay. But yeah, it was... Okay, I see that now. There's some weird Lucas stuff going on. Elias. The frick, I was gonna search up his chapel. Chapel. Is that when they killed Maxwell Rayner when the police stormed in with all the lights? Or the Hither Green Chapel with that one girl, her roommate, who is super crazy. Let me think.
I think so.
Was he? Ooh.
I mean,
Kinda spooky.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Maybe, I don't know. Honestly, he was just a bit weird.
Yeah. Is that why you wanted me?
Oh no, are you busy?
A bit. I was reading through a bunch of stuff about the Church of the Divine Host. Did you look into that statement about the chapel in Hither Green? Because apparently
Hither Green.
Right around that time there was a full solar eclipse going on in, guess where?
I don't know.
Near
Elias. Okay. Okay, there's a rundown church, but when I walked inside, it was complete darkness, and then the whole place there was like a ritual going on. foreign singing, and they all came together into what sounded like Ni Alesund. Full solar eclipse, so it seems like they somehow summoned it. That's making me think maybe that this, like, pretty, like, a kind of, I wouldn't say innocuous, but, like, pretty, like, introductory statement as an introduction to the, like, this was, like, 20-something, introduction to, like, the darkness people, the Church of the Divine Host people, the Reino people. Like, this was... do you think this could have been one of the, like, apocalypses? Like, one of those, like, the people, them trying to stop... I mean, start... Like, did one of the ones that Gertrude had to stop, like, she was hunting down? I don't know. I don't know if it was that big, or if this is something that they just did. But I don't know. Interesting. Okay.
And when Natalie Annis talked about it being 300 years ago, well, how much do you know about the relationship between Edmund Haley...
Natalie Ellis. Natalie Ellis. Mag. Lights. So, what's it called? Lights Out? Magnus Archives, what was it called? Is this the... This is the Sandman. Oh, where's the one with the police? Reina Police. The Magnus Archives. Ah, my legs. Police lights. Okay. Statement, to Callum Brody. He's bleeding out. Woman who attacked Altman was Natalie Ennis, sorry. Opened fire at Maxwell and then sudden illumination. Apparently killed the Maxwell Rainer, it seems. Okay. Didn't that... She'd say something about 300 years ago? What?
And John Flamsteed.
Haley like the comet?
Exactly.
Look, seriously.
Haley. Magnus Archives. It's the underwater hand guy. I think I said probably different. What is going on? Okay, the Magnus Archives. Let me just go to this episode. Okay, I finished listening to it. I'll go to this episode. What's this called? Mag 108. 108 Monologue. Let me get on the ground. Let me sit. Hello. Oh, my own encoding is overloaded. That's not good. Okay. Let me see. What's going on in this episode? Stage, something. Do. Okay. Tim has been working on something. Martin did say that, which is terrifying. Tim, be safe. Melanie is having the worst time of her life. Peter Lukas. How long Natalie Ennis had described the church waiting for... 300 years, that's the last time the eclipse happened there. Or maybe the eclipse at all, I don't know. She begins to say something. Edmund Haley and John Flamsteed. Who? What? I clicked on the names expecting to get like an awful spoiler, but I clicked on the name expecting to get an awful spoiler wiki page, and I instead got redirected to an actual Wikipedia article about an actual historical figure. Both of them are historical figures. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm not British. I don't know who these people are. Well, do I have to be? I didn't know the other guy, the clown, because I was British. I was not British, but these guys, they're probably actual important, like scientific figures that I should know about. Like Halley's Comet, I have heard of. Do I have to research these guys? Can't I just go on like that old Reddit discussion post from like a couple years ago, and other people on Reddit will explain it to me? I don't know. Shit. Before I watch the next episode, I'm gonna go and read the summary for the Montauk dying in prison summary, at least, because I remember some things of the initial Montauk statement because it was so enthralling and like interesting and weird as hell to me. Montauk Magnus. Prison. Exceptional risk. Prison officer. Okay. Submitted. Bro, what do I do? Let me sit. Can I see myself? My knees. Okay. My dirty boy, I don't like... Okay. 6 feet tall. Blah, 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 blah. Robert dislocated someone's shoulder. The government. Close to provision. Sorry. She started visiting him, Julia. He had another visitor, a man in his late 50s, with a well-tailored black suit who looked like he might be blind. I think I realized at the time that was probably Raina. Because he's blind. Stared at each other with a fierce hatred. The light bulb blew out. You didn't think you could kill it for long, did you? Robert was weeping. So, yeah, let me sit. What's up? So, we have that. This Robert Montauk had an adversarial relationship to the Darkness people, and I don't know if I can call it the Darkness yet. I don't know. I don't think that's its actual name. I literally made that up, but it makes the most sense. But we know that because, like, when at the beginning, in the initial statement, when his all his there was like black water coming out of his sink and stuff, and then I believe something was trying to get him and his family, and he was murdering a bunch of people to have their hearts to use in like a ritual to kill this thing that was coming after him and his family. Oh, and his wife left behind a a closed eye necklace, like the People's Church of the Divine Host necklace. So maybe she was involved, and maybe did she leave? And did she leave like the cult, the Darkness cult, and then it came after her? Or did something... Because, like, why would a sacrificing a bunch of hearts and then pulsing and glowing and stuff have something to do with the darkness? Maybe it was something else. I think this next statement will probably clear things up about what actually happened. But who knows? But let me look at the rest of the statement. So yeah, Maxwell Rado comes in and says, it's alive again and it's coming after you. The prison had problems with the plumbing. Brackish water. Brackish! When I learned the word brackish from the Magnus Archives. There you are. Low growl, beat screen, flip. Robert was dead from stab wounds. Oof. Yeah, it was Maxwell Reyna. It says at the post statement. The statement giver became an alcoholic and became abusive. That's okay. Oh, okay. Oop. Okay. Cause like I'm so confused about what this thing is because he had to sacrifice all these hearts to do it, and I think it was described as like the sound of meat hitting the door, and I'm like, is this like we haven't really seen like a real like physical entity like or like a violent like oh I'm gonna get you slam across door like or a meaty entity associated with the darkness. It's mostly like this cult. Well, there's like the blanket one and there's like this shadow there's like these shadow monsters, I guess, but it hasn't really been like oh, I'm gonna get you bang bang bang, you know. Like this is more, that seems like meaty. I don't know what the meat thing is. I still don't know. I think meat is different from like meat is different from the people, those are the from the like the gross people, like the gross people, the fly, the bug, trash, fly, bug, what's the other thing? It's bugs and sickness people, the gross people. Like I think it's different than that, even though that one meat statement was very gross. It's different from that, but I don't think it's I don't know if there's a specific bone creature, because there's like that bone book, and then there's like people like Bone Turner's Tale. It's like people like warping their own bones. Like who's the body horror entity? I don't know. Like I don't think meat, because meat statements usually have to do with like animals, farms, slaughterhouses, humans, and animals being used as meat, like the whole existential horror of that. But you know, I have no clue. I'm clueless. I'm still clueless. I'm glad I was able to keep myself clueless this long. But yeah, I'll just head into the next one. I don't know. Should I give a scan of the original statement? Where is it? Mag 9. That's really early. Okay. No, it's Heart in a Jar. Serial killer. Yeah, closed eye pendant, tap water, brackish. Mother was gone. Light blue. It seems like the mother was swallowed by the darkness or something. But what was this thing that he was trying to keep away, a darkness monster? Drinking. Covered in blood and brackish water. Bloodstains. Detective Rayner, he said, no, do it yourself. So it seemed like they were using him or blackmailing him or something to maybe protect his daughter, but then maybe he was working on his own terms to thwart whatever they were using against him. I don't know. She found photos of faces with symbols drawn over them, but it didn't seem like the victims that were missing, so they were completely different people, which is interesting. The two different sets of victims for different reasons. Were these face-drawn people the people that he was killing for the darkness, and were the people that were missing that he took the hearts of were for his own ritual? I have no clue. Brackish water, street lights failing, wet meat slopping against the door. I guess meat can exist in darkness world, who cares? A corpse chanting, all the hearts were beating. But they were glowing with light. And he was incarcerated. And also there was another Reyna in Mag 7 on a battlefield that was like dead, which is interesting. Jonathan Sims believes this to be a coincidence. It probably isn't, because nothing in this series is a coincidence. Okay, I'll continue with Nightfall, finally. I guess I'm not as prepared as I will be because I don't really understand.
Flexibility is great. That's why there's yoga. Flexibility for your insurance coverage is great too. That's why there's United Healthcare Insurance Plans.
Hi, Wild Pomegranates.
Golden
Oh my
Wolf
god, there's a
Insurance
frickin'
Company.
ad.
United Healthcare Insurance
I
Plans
hate you
offers
ads.
flexibility.
Okay. Hi, Wild Pomegranates. Thanks for watching at all. You say you're just enjoying it from the beginning, so probably you're like, you scrolled back and you won't be hearing this, but thanks for watching when you do get to this. But yeah. Oh my god, 2 concurrent viewers. I'm so crazy. I'm so viewer rich right now. Okay, let me skip ahead to probably where this statement begins.
Jane Cocker, Bailey Windsor.
Okay,
Thank you.
Patreons.
Really appreciate your support. If you'd like to join them, go to www.patreon.com/Rusty Quill and take a look at our rewards.
Okay.
Rusty Quill.
Cello music intensifies.
Episode 109. Nightfall.
Shit, I'm excited. This means this person is given 2 statements, actually. One from the past and one in the present. And this one reading herself, obviously. I don't know if I'm having any audio issues. You know what? Let me stop for a moment and check that I can hear myself over the thing. This is gonna be a weird playback right here. Shit, I'm excited. Me hearing myself is the worst thing on the planet. Okay, that's fun. Okay, it seems like it's working though.
Well, she said you could turn it on. Didn't say anything about talking. Look,
Oh wait, also that's what Trevor the Tramp sounds like. Holy shit! Didn't he say that people like he had a following, that people loved him? Like, your voice is kind of scary. But also, like, you read it. Like I already talked about how I look at the Reddit posts from the past when the episode just came out, because I like feeling like I'm involved even though I'm 2 years late. But something they brought up, the policeman had. And also, I talk about how that policeman was the one that was stalking John? Like, that John thought, I think this was a policeman following me. But that policeman, I think his name was one of the, like, the dummy names, like a John Doe, from the anatomy class episode, where all the people had, like, John Doe-ish names from all over, like, the world. And his name was one of those. So, giving stranger, which makes sense because they're trying to stop the stranger, and they're probably following John around because he's trying to stop the apocalypse. So yeah, I'm like, the policeman did sound kind of strange, kind of
We're on the
weirdish.
same side.
If you're telling the truth.
I mean, I don't know what proof I can give you.
Well, if you're right about it, it won't be long until Officer Musterman over here is
Musterman.
able to talk again. That should be illuminating.
Oof.
he's almost got his lungs again.
Excuse me?
Oh, as long as they can push air, it'll do.
And if you don't like what he has to say,
Getting his lungs back again?
Cabin's a long way away from anything that can hear you.
Oh, shit.
and if I run,
Okay, I already talked about how I had no idea that vampire episode was so weird and outlandish to me. I was like, what even is this? But then, as time went on, I thought about it, and I was like, this is so hunty. He's hunting. That's what he does. He got addicted to hunting. He got addicted to drugs, and then he got addicted to hunting vampires. It's the hunt. And then Julia Montauk in this one said, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going hunting. We're going hunting. And they're both hunters, hunt people. And that makes sense. Because I forgot, I know, I remember that there was a woman with Trevor Herbert at the end of Taken Ill. And I was all, and I like misremembered that it was like a fire person because they set it on fire. But no, they said it was a tall woman, and I was like, I have no idea who that is. But now that we know that Julia Montauk is with Trevor Herbert, they've been traveling, they've been hunting. It makes sense that woman and Trevor Herbert were Julia Montauk and Trevor Herbert, which is
Very much
crazy.
that you do.
I read your statement. You know, you don't kill people, only monsters.
The line gets blurrier every day.
What about
Okay.
you, Julia? Following in your dad's footsteps.
It's a legacy
Jeez.
I've learned to be proud of. There are people who sell us all out for things you can't even imagine. I'm happy doing what it takes
What did
to
you
stop
say?
Mate, what about you, Julia? Following in your dad's footsteps.
It's a legacy I've learned to be proud of. There are people who'd sell us all out for things you can't even imagine. I'm happy doing what it takes to stop that.
Murder?
Why not? Everything dies. You think if you walk out of this cabin, you just keep going. Something gets you, even if it's just time.
Well, I still have stuff I need to do.
Life on this planet ends violently. It's the most natural thing in the world. And sometimes...
I'm sure her father was doing it for a reason, it seemed.
When something comes for you,
then I die.
that doesn't scare you.
Every second.
That's some resolve you got there.
Can we keep that somewhere else?
I want it where I can see it.
Me and that.
And when you're satisfied that I'm not trying to harm you,
If you're right about that ritual, I guess you talk to Gerard.
you said he was dead.
He
Dead
is.
eyed.
Right. So we just wait.
That's the plan.
Perhaps if all we can do is listen to this regrowing itself, may I suggest a way
So that's what's happening, huh?
Sure. You want our story?
Gave you folks.
John is so curious.
I mean, yes.
I missed what
Perhaps if
Trevor said because I was
all we can
laughing
do
at
is
the fact that
listen to this
John really wants a statement right now.
regrowing itself, may I suggest a way to pass the time?
Sure. You want our story?
Gave you folks plenty already.
I mean,
You did
yes,
do that. Both of you, actually. That's
the
crazy.
situation has
Ah,
changed.
this is so cool. This is
Last I heard you were done.
Infinity War.
I was.
What's happening right now? Two statement givers. Okay.
Odd. Not much I see.
This guy breathing in the background.
Somehow or other. I'm not going to turn my nose up at the one bit of it worked out well for me. I hunt monsters. My lungs don't kill me. Seems like a fair trade.
Oh, you got your in exchange with the Hunt Man.
What about you, Julia? Care to make a statement? Maybe about how you met Trevor?
Sure. Why not?
Thank you.
Not like
John?
you or your tape recorder get to leave here without us.
John really said thanks.
Statement of Julia Montauk regarding her initial encounter with the hunter Trevor Herbert. When did this happen?
About 6 years ago?
Am I still in frame?
2010.
Sure. Summer 2010.
Statement taken direct from subject, June 29th, 2017.
Someone said LOL. That's so true.
I tried to live a normal life. I really did. I took jobs working in the back room of offices where I wouldn't need to meet anyone. I had boyfriends who promised they didn't care. I burned through half a dozen counsellors. None of it worked. You see, my father's always remained one of the darlings of the true
sucks.
crime community.
God.
Articles, documentaries, grisly retrospectives.
Yay, true
I've read how
crime.
somehow
It's so
it
great for
always won a place
society.
in my life. One of my co-workers or new friends would stumble across a profile of my father, and that would be that. Every time some
Oh.
true crime blog or spotted a
Okay,
profile of my
I
father in
disconnected
their
for a
search
minute.
history. Sometimes I tried to lie about it, so there was no relation, but the damage was done. They'd get distant, throw me nervous glances when they didn't think I'd notice, or worse. They started to look at me like I was some sort of prize, some small claim to fame. The serial killer's daughter. I suppose I could have changed
Yikes,
the
I'm
name.
so...
Something always stopped me though.
True crime really ruins lives.
To my dad, and even if it did keep ruining my life, I couldn't bring myself to lose it. The counsellors and the therapists were more understanding, but even they couldn't quite keep the eager quiver out of their voice when I started talking about the murders. It felt like every
Oh
couple of years I
God,
was having
I'm
to
so
put my
sorry.
life
I
into
feel really bad.
research.
That's really sucks.
What is it, do you think, that makes people so obsessed with horrific things happening to other people? Even now, after all I've done, I can't quite figure out what it is that makes people treat actual atrocities like cheap entertainment.
Yeah,
We're all just
that's
broken
just how it...
inside, unable to really grasp the difference between fictional people and people we just don't know. They're all just abstract ideas we're happy to have.
Okay, you're spreading too much truth right now.
Or maybe the fact that it really
God.
happened is exactly the point. Adding the awful spice of reality to people's morbid fantasies.
Okay,
Without
this is kind of
thinking
too real.
the lurid joy some people would feel if I were caught. The serial killer's daughter taking over the family business. It makes me sick. But even back then, with my hands unblooded, that collective obsession with brutality chased me throughout my life. In the summer of 2010,
In what way?
I made another attempt to outrun my father's legacy and moved up to Manchester to take a new job. It was night shift work, security and maintenance for an old office building, occupied by a handful of failing companies trying to save money on floor space. I liked it because I didn't really have to talk to anyone. I was on the desk alone, and generally anyone working there late enough to cross paths with me wasn't in a talking mood. There was another reason that I chose to work nights. If you read my statement, then I'm sure it will come as no surprise that for most of my life, I've had a pretty significant fear of the dark.
For good reason, it
I awoke
seems.
tonight, listening, straining my ears for the noise of movement or that dreadful growl coming out of the dark.
Growl. I guess it is a darkness monster.
That suggested I try working nights as a way to address it. And it worked. For the most part. It made the darkness mundane, just another aspect
I mean,
of
every
life
child
I
is scared
dealt
of
with,
the monster in the
keeping
dark.
within the comforting glow of lamps and light bulbs basically all the time. It also let me sleep during the day, and the faintest hint of sunlight that crept around the edges of my thick bedroom curtains made me feel safe enough to relax. It made dating even harder, of course, but by that point I'd mostly given up trying. It wasn't a perfect solution by any means, but it helped. To start with, at least. I never really worried about keeping track of the companies that kept offices in my building. It seemed like they came and went pretty regularly. Sometimes a start-up would make it big, but usually it was the inevitable bankruptcy that moved them out. All except DKN Systems. I never really figured out what it was they were meant to be doing. Something full of meaningless
Darkness.
business
DKN.
networks or media solutions. Thinking about it, it might actually have been Business Media Network Solutions. Point is, there didn't seem to be anything suspicious about them, at least not at first. I knew a bit more about them than the other people renting space, since they seemed to do a lot of work after dark, and there were a handful of their staff I knew on site. I mean, I assumed they also did a lot of work in the daytime that I just wasn't seeing, so it didn't seem particularly weird. Just another small business burning the candle everywhere they could to stay afloat.
Or burning the candle
But
because
even
they
if
like
the company
darkness.
itself didn't seem weird, the people who worked for it really did. I remember there were 4 of them normally around, and at one point I thought it must have been a family thing, because I got it in my head that they were related. I don't know why. They didn't even look that similar, but there was just something about the faces. It was the eyes, I think. It looked like they all had irises so dark that they almost
Dark.
went completely black. And they dressed the same. Not like a uniform, but they all wore black trousers, a dark blue shirt and a brown leather belt. They also wore soft
I was
black
expecting
canvas shoes which were almost
white
completely
eyes.
silent when walking down the carpeted halls of the building. It made them even more unsettling, quietly wandering the corridors, never quite looking where they were going. Like their attention was focused on something you just couldn't see. There was only one of them that ever spoke, at least to me. A young guy called Varden Darvish. He seemed to be the manager, at least as much as there was any clear structure. And unlike his colleagues, he seemed happy, almost eager to talk. I asked him about it once, and he laughingly told me that his co-workers didn't sign up for the quality of conversation. He'd chat with me about my job and the latest headline, which he always had a strong opinion about. We never discussed any details of his life, though, or his job. He generally came over to let me know about a blown light bulb somewhere in the building. And then
Blown
sit down
light
with the
bulbs
conversation.
everywhere.
I once jokingly suggested he must be breaking the lights himself for an excuse to talk to me, and he laughed, but then got kind of quiet and didn't stick around
Was
to
he?
talk.
Are they here for
Well,
you?
I assume my awkward flirting had made it weird, but unfortunately not.
Bulbs were breaking because of what they were doing round the offices. I've been tracking Darvish for a good few weeks by then. There'd been a couple of homeless I knew go missing round Par's Wood, where I was keeping back then. Now, usually I wouldn't pay much mind. It was the summer after all. But there were a couple of weeks gone. So I checked in with shelters and a worker that dealt with him, but no one had the first clue. I knew Morris had at least a kid with a woman down in Moss Side, so he wouldn't have skipped town. But she hadn't seen him neither. My first thought were vampires, as they like to go after rough sleepers. But I knew by then there were other horrors kicking around, not to mention your mundane murderers. Didn't matter to me, of course, not by then. I had a hunt on, and I was going to see it through. It weren't long after I went down to see you folk, so I was still convinced I were on the way out, and caution weren't something I cared for. Don't recall exactly how Darvish got on my radar. Someone had seen something that sent me somewhere that led me to
Darvish.
I don't know. Point is, as soon as I saw him, I knew he were the one I were after. There was a smell to him. Something
Yeah.
dark and sick.
He wasn't mentioned before.
rolling off him in
It's just a employee.
Sure, he didn't smell like a vampire, but he smelled like something that weren't meant to be in this world. So I reckon I better help him out of it.
By murdering him.
Couple of days. Didn't know exactly what he was or what he wanted, so I weren't keen to charge right in. He seemed normal at first, mind. Happy enough in the sun. But he worked nights. That's how I first saw him. Didn't spot me. But if he did, he never paid me no mind. They never do. The third night, I spotted him at work, taking a delivery.
Let's sit down now.
It were a big truck for some company called Outer Bay.
Outer Bay.
Tried to follow him up.
Outer Bay.
But didn't find him.
That sounds familiar.
Then again, maybe I didn't know what I were looking for. I mean, to anyone else, the box that we were unloading would have looked like nothing much. But if there's one thing I know, it's what a box looks like when it's got someone inside.
Okay.
What shape it tends to be. And the folk carrying it have to take a second to manage its shifting weight. Might have looked like a big old flight case, but as soon as I saw it, I was certain there was somebody inside. What I didn't know was alive or dead.
Looking back, I feel like an idiot. I was watching them unload that same case. It was policy to have whoever was working security present for deliveries. Something about insurance.
Okay. Outer Bay was mentioned in police lights. That's why they sound familiar. Okay. Outer Bay. It was the building that they raided. It was owned by Outer Bay Shipping. Shell Corporation. Okay. Makes sense.
About it. I even noticed Trevor lurking past the fence, though I didn't give much thought to just another tramp. I had no idea what they had in the box, though.
A person.
New computer servers, and I didn't have any reason not to believe them. They'd had plenty of similar deliveries before. Varden was there, and we talked for a while. He wanted to discuss the tennis, I think, but I've never really followed sport. He didn't seem suspicious or weird, and I had no reason to think that this was anything other than a late delivery of normal computer parts. They took the case up to their offices, and I returned to my desk with a fresh cup of coffee, and a plan to dig in for the night with some episodes of an old radio show I was working my way through. The plan went pretty smooth for an hour or two, with the exception of a couple of DKN employees silently shuffling past at unnerving moments. Then I happened to glance up at one of the video feeds.
I guess I'll do homework
Saw
now.
that the tramp I saw earlier had managed to sneak inside the building.
Didn't want to hard and all that. Didn't need to break a window, nothing. Just waited until the last of the office weirdos were heading back inside. It was small enough. Pretty simple to tail them through before the door swung shut. Once in, I had a look at cameras because I knew there
We've
was
never had a double statement before.
I'd seen her when they were unloading. I was pretty sure I could take her out.
Two perspectives.
In your dreams, old man.
But I didn't want it to come to that. I tried to stay out of sight.
What just-
She
what
must have spotted me
did you
because,
say?
because I knew there were a security guard. I'd seen her when they were unloading. I was pretty sure I could take her out if I needed to.
In your dreams, old man.
But I didn't want it to come to that.
Will
Tried to
Vance.
stay out of sight, but she must have spotted me because soon enough I could hear her coming my way. I managed to duck into a stairwell and head up towards the 4th floor, where the front of the building said Darvish's company was. I could hear her behind me though, so I ducked out a floor early and nipped inside a cleaning cupboard to wait her out.
I went all the way to the 4th floor, not realising that this git wasn't up there. The corridor light was out, and I made a note to replace it later as I turned on my torch. It was very quiet. Far quieter than I would have expected for a company installing new equipment. I took a moment to get my bearings, and there was no sound at all. Utter silence. Except for the faintest drip, 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 coming from somewhere up ahead. I called out, first for the trespasser, then for Varden, then for anybody who might be up there, but there was no answer. My torch beam fell on the door labelled DKN Systems. It stood open, unmoving, with no light at all coming from inside. As my light crossed the doorframe, I could see the windows had been covered with thick wooden boards and painted a dark matte black. In the corner of my mind, I could feel panic starting to claw its way up as the darkness started to press in on me. I called out again, but there was still no reply. I wanted to turn around and run back to the light, but not enough. Not as much as I wanted to overcome my fear. I slowly headed inside, calling out every few steps to make sure anyone who might be in there knew I was with security. Inside, the rooms were bare, completely empty. There was no sign they'd ever been used to run a business, and the only sign that I wasn't the first person to set foot in there was the complete absence of dust or dirt. I checked another room, but it was exactly the same. The same with the third I checked, and the fourth. Then I opened a normal-looking wooden door near the back, and I froze. Once again on the threshold of something that didn't make sense. In front of me was what should have been a normal meeting room, but it was far from that. The floor was covered in water,
this music.
pitch black and utterly still. I knew in my mind it couldn't be more than a few millimeters deep.
It's strange.
I past the doorway when I opened it. But as my torchlight reflected off the surface, it seemed to me like it was much, much deeper. In the centre of the room was a plain wood and metal table, with a man lying on top of it. I'd never seen him before. He lay motionless, and I could make out a thin, dark trickle of liquid flowing from his mouth and eyes, over his face, and dripping down the table legs into the dark water. 3 figures stood around him, the other workers from the office. Each was stood on a small square platform a few inches off the floor, facing directly towards the central table, arms outstretched and mouths wide as though they were screaming. They still made absolutely no sound. I don't know how long I was frozen there, staring at the scene in front of me.
I can lower this.
Nothing was right about what I was seeing. I started to scream at them, shouted to stop whatever they were doing or I'd call the police. They didn't seem even remotely aware of me. Finally, I decided I was going to leave, to make the call. But not before I got the man on the table out of there. He clearly needed help, and whatever these silent screamers were doing to him wasn't helping. I told them. I announced what I was about to do, but still got no response. So I stepped into the room and over to the table. As soon as my foot hit the water, I fell into it completely. It was colder than anything I had ever experienced, and the torch slipped from my hand as my vision immediately went dark. I tried to orientate myself, to find which way was up, and I saw a faint pinprick of light as my torch sank away from me. Down and down and down into the icy black water. I started to panic then, with the light this deep pressing in on me, eager to take me away. I was absolutely sure that in a few moments there would be no surface left. Just dark, still water.
There's like some strange, ethereal, pulsing music going on.
I've been watching a while. I saw her go down. Didn't have a clue what were going on. Still don't. But I was quick enough to get there and reach my arm into the water before she was too far gone. It were bloody cold. Couldn't see anything, obviously. I had my own light, but it just bounced off the surface. I could feel the back of her jacket down there, though, and I made a grab for it. No, not as strong as I was, maybe, but I held on and pulled. Wasn't enough to get her out. Something in there didn't want to let her go. But I got her high enough that her arm broke the surface. She flailed a second, but got hold of the door frame and started to pull herself out.
Oops.
For a while, but she was
Sorry.
there when I heard something.
Oop. business stuff, family happenings. My hair is back, even though I was sweaty. Okay, whatever. Doop-a-doo, I'm back. Sorry for the wait, but yeah. I will go back about, like, maybe a minute and continue from there.
I saw her go down. Didn't have a clue what were going on. Still don't. But I was quick enough to get there and reach my arm into the water before she was too far gone. It were bloody cold. Couldn't see anything, obviously. I had my own light, but it just bounced off the surface. I could feel the back of her jacket down there, though, and I made a grab for it. No, not as strong as I was, maybe, but I held on and pulled. Wasn't enough to get her out. Something in there didn't want to let go. But I got her high enough that her arm broke the surface. She flailed a second, but got hold of the door frame and started to pull herself out. Took her a while, but she were almost there when I heard something moving behind us. Turned around to see Darvish stood there, and he did not look happy.
Okay.
I were already holding the knife. I could smell him so thick it tasted like rancid treacle, and whatever he was shouting was quieter than the blood in my ears. It was going to be good. I got him once across the chest through his shirt, but he was a lot faster than I gave him credit for. He cracked me once, hard across the face. I didn't go down, or I didn't get him with the blade again before he slammed his elbow to me gut. That time I did go down, and the knife dropped to the floor. He were on top of me, hands round my throat, and I thought that was it. No waiting for the cancer. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared.
I could still feel that dark water sticking to me, tugging at me, pleading me to fall back into it. I pushed it from my mind, and I could just about make out the homeless man that saved me. He was struggling with someone, his torch fallen to the ground next to an old pocket knife. I grabbed the light and pointed it at them. Varden was on top of him, hands around the old man's throat. I saw those eyes properly, and for the first time I realized that Varden's irises weren't dark. It was just that the pupils were so wide that they swallowed them completely. That wasn't what did it, though. That wasn't what made me pick up the struggling tramp's pocket knife and plunge it in again and again into Varden Darvish's throat. No.
Well.
What did that was the tattoo. Huge and dark on the chest beneath his ripped shirt. The closed eye sigil that was as familiar to me as the nightmares of my mother. I have never felt rage like I did then, and I have never felt anything as wonderful as the satisfaction of ending his life.
Well,
there was a shiver
fair move.
Me dried in an instant, and the three silent screamers dropped down dead.
But I don't know about the emotional health of this move.
They were definitely dead by the time we left. The man on the table had never been alive to begin with.
I just knew then. I never even had to explain anything to her. She just gave me back the knife and we left together. Wasn't any question as to who I was or what I was doing. We just clicked.
And we've been hunting together going on 7 years now.
She ain't too bad at it.
He's starting to slow down a bit though.
It's just the lack of respect that gets me.
The bantering.
This is a shame.
At least I'm not so soft. I need a feather bed.
Beds are a good thing, old man. I keep telling you. So are baths.
You see what I gotta put up with, Mr. Sims?
They're just having a good time.
What do you do for money?
Sorry?
I doubt roaming around killing things pays all that well. Would you support yourself?
I don't know. We find ways. When you're out here, the odd bit of robbery or trespass doesn't really faze you.
And why America?
Tell her we're a wolf man. Old Davies down in Plymouth swore blind his brother had seen one on the Pacific Crest Trail.
I told Trevor he was a liar, but here we are anyway. Have been for a couple of years.
Hey, now,
tracking.
Wolf man sure, but there've been plenty out here that needs killing.
True enough. Plus, it's hard to leave. We're not exactly here legally, and trying to get a flight home would get us noticed by authorities.
Oh, how did you get here?
Telling her we could offer boats.
And I tell him I'd rather stay hunting here than trap myself on a boat for 2 weeks.
So, what have you... Shut up.
Oh, hey.
Oh yeah, the guy is no.
You could have at least chopped my ears off, too. You people just won't shut up. How am I supposed to get the lungs lined up right when I can't even concentrate?
Happy to chop them off again if you need the practice.
He said you guys are annoying.
Ones who want to talk. Why were you looking for me? Why do you think? Out here, exposed, unaware, on your own. At least I thought so. Thought it was a good chance to get you home and get you ready for the dance.
Is this that unknowing dance?
Yeah. Okay, Mustaman, or whatever your name. Turn it off. You got more questions? You turn that thing off. I don't think you're in any position to make demands. Maybe not. But are you sure you know what's listening in? Do you? No. But I don't like it.
What's he mean, listening in?
Well, it's just God.
Oh no, it's fine. It's never.
Turn it off.
It's just a god. It's not a real person.
The Magnus Archives is a podcast distributed by Rusty Quill and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0.
He really said, I figured to ask me stuff. Don't let that creepy eye listen. Valid. Thanks, American man. Fake American man. Interesting. Yeah, so it was a stranger guy. We didn't get much clarification on that crazy schneik that was happening with her father. Just more on how she got here and how her and Trevor got together. Interesting. So that was I guess the body in the crate. They brought it up to the office to do a little ritual. And yeah, maybe she thought they were all related because those 3 screamer people who like passed out the moment that one guy died. Maybe they weren't real. Maybe it was just him. Maybe he was like controlling them, or they were puppets and stuff. Because he seemed to be the central figure there. Like when he died, it all stopped. Interesting. So yeah, these two, they don't seem to be like, they're not like Gertrude, Gerard Key, Elias people. They're they hunt and they know there's a bunch of crazy schneik out there, but they're not like, oh, well, this one's the eye and this one's the stranger and this one, you know, they're just going off. They probably don't even know that they're involved in one. They don't seem like very interested in the categorization of entities or like the existence of entities that govern all the supernatural in this world. Just hunting, but interesting. But yeah, this was it for me. I only have like 30 minutes. I can't go on for another episode. But yeah. I guess I will react to Creature Feature on camera because I always miss something important. But yeah. That was actually very straightforward in terms of like what actually happened, like in terms of like the actual contents of the story. Pretty interesting. Let me go to the episode and see if I missed anything. 109. I keep flipping. Your statement. Well, does it say? It's just a statement of Julia Montauk. But it says audio by Julia Montauk and Trevor Herbert. No, like, joint statement. How novel. Like, you don't kill people, John says, and they're like, well, who knows who's people? Real. Julia Montauk's very no nonsense. Not no nonsense. She said they have a funny little rapport going on. They should have their own little TV show. They should have their own little supernatural TV show. Sam and Dean on the road. They got the good dance. Yeah, she had had an awful time because of true crime, which a little too real, especially in the podcast space, my lord. Windows painted. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Liquid trickling from his mouth. They said that the guy, so I believe that guy was the body that was brought up to the room. Either they said that he was never alive to begin with. So when I thought, my first reaction to that was like he's like that's an artificial corpse, and I was like, what? Or maybe he just wasn't alive. He was already dead when he came into the building, which would make more sense. I don't exactly know. Okay, very straightforward actually. He was unconcerned by petty crime. They steal things. Wolfman. They don't have a way to travel home. Musterman. Because I don't like that thing. Musterman. Some random stranger guy. It was slightly endearing. He said two things. He said, and then he said, "Guys, I'm trying to restructure my lungs. You're so annoying." And then he said, "Turn that thing off. I don't like it." There's a crazy eye listening, and it's gross. I'm like, valid, actually. I know you're trying to kill John for his skin, but it's still valid. Max Musterman is a German placeholder. Like John Doe. So is this the same Musterman that was in the anatomy class episode? The Wolfman rumor that they heard is most likely a direct reference to the Mag 31 First Hunt. Lawrence hunting trip. And when he was traced down by some guy. The hunting we shall go. There's a werewolf. And the guy died. Yeah, that's actually quite straightforward. I like they had funny little banter. They had Jonathan Sims being Jonathan Sims. They had Stranger Danger. They had a little guy like rebuilding himself in the corner, which is a thing. I didn't expect that to happen. How fun. I mean, they have to, maintain their human bodies are real, so they need to, have some control over it seems. Makes sense. But, yeah. Good episode. For Julia. And then, dang, a crossover episode. It's just crazy. It's like you would never expect, like, watching this show from the beginning, that these like completely disparate characters that have nothing in common, they would later on be like be like hunting partners. So that's like, you know, it's Infinity War. Magnus Archives Infinity War. Like, you never would have expected it. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. That was pretty good. I have no idea what's going on. Like, everyone's doing crazy stuff. Everyone's everywhere doing whatever and all things. Yeah. But yeah. I don't know what else to say. So, oh, they mentioned Gerard. They mentioned something about Gerard, didn't they? They mentioned Gerard. Cafe con leche. Put $20 on today's lottery. Okay. Gerard. If you're right about that ritual, I guess you talk to Gerard. Joy says, he is. With his spooky voice, he is. And Trevor just laughs like, ha ha. It's like, they're like, yeah, he's dead. It's like, how unfortunate for him. But that's Soto's advice. To like go speak to Gerard, like if you're trying to stop this apocalypse, I guess. And then John's like, but he's dead. And they're like, yeah. How funny. And I'm like, okay. Because I see the statement. Because I can't help but look at the summaries, okay? I'm just scrolling and I see a summary and I'm like, and, you know, gives me something to look forward to. I wonder how that's gonna work. I guess, you know, speaking to dead people isn't like it doesn't seem like outside of the realm of possibility, even though we haven't really gotten any. Magnus Archives isn't really a ghost show. It's not like people come back to life and haunt you kind of show. Not really. Not like, oh, person you know is back from the dead. It doesn't really happen. It's very much less conventional than that in terms of horror. But yeah, good episodes. Interesting. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, but yeah, it was cool. I don't know what to say. But yeah. I guess I'm gonna sign off. Yeah, signing off to the next dimension, I guess. Nobody will be there, and, you know, have a nice time. Kill some darkness people because of some mom trauma and other things.